The United States has come a long way from the introduction of the Constitution. Slavery is outlawed, black people can be citizens, and women have the right to vote. However, the pro-gun party grasps at straws when arguing the Second Amendment protects their right to own a gun without proper regulation. It has been proven that strong gun control saves lives and improves the safety of society as a whole. It is also common sense that those with mental illness that make them more inclined to commit acts of violence should not be allowed access to a gun, and without closing the gun show loophole, this is not possible. Gun control does not limit itself to restrictive access, but common sense, safety regulations, and education. Stricter gun control will save lives. This has been proven to be true time and time again. The United States has one of the highest murder rates in the world. This is significant due to the contrast in gun laws between the U.S. and countries with lower murder rates like Great Britain and Australia. The U.S. has some 270 million firearms, more than countries with a fraction our homicide rate. So if guns keep us safe, the U.S. would be the safest country on earth. The number of firearms prove guns are not sufficient in lowering the homicide rate. Guns are rarely used in self-defense, and gun households are more likely to fall victim to gun violence. The simple truth is making guns less accessible and increasing regulation will make the U.S. safer, and it will save millions of lives. The United States must move beyond the Second Amendment and enforce stricter gun control. In 1787, when the Second Amendment was written, the muskets used took too long to reload to be considered weapons of mass murder next to the assault rifles firing up to 60 rounds per minute we know today. Not to mention, back during the birth of our nation, the Second Amendment did not extend to anyone beyond white males, which although morally tenuous, was still a form of gun control. And since this time, the U.S. has evolved past the outdated principles of slavery and inequality, proving how anachronistic ideas in the Constitution can be. Furthermore, when the Constitution was ratified, the Second Amendment was added for the sole purpose of adding a militia to the Union, which is inconsequential next to the billions of dollars being poured into our modern military. It is not feasible to overthrow a modern military that would realistically be trivial to try and overthrow, making the rallies of the pro-gun party completely superficial. In the Declaration of Independence, life comes before liberty. The lives of thousands of people affected by gun violence every day are so much more important than the simple access to guns. We need to make guns less accessible. We need to make them safer, and we need to make this country safer, and we need to make guns in our country less accessible.
2 minutes, 59 seconds.
I thought you were about to say you need to make America great again.
Okay, there's still a debate going on.
A superficial view of the gun control issue might observe the terrorism attacks and school shootings and pin those issues on lenient gun control, but that view is simply erroneous. Those images are tenuous representations of gun usage as a whole. Most guns purchased with violent intentions are purchased from unregulated and undocumented sources. Guns purchased legally increase our safety, protect our freedoms, and are harmless to society. The protection of our constitutional right is not of trivial importance. By restricting our American right to bear arms, the government would hypocritically fall back on the second promise they ever made to us as citizens. Our opponents stated that countries without guns are safer, and those countries should set a role model for the United States to increase gun control. But we have proven that our nation is not unsafe because of guns. It's the people that cause problems. Also, countries like Australia and Great Britain are both islands. That isolation adds another buffer between violence and the illegal importation of guns. On top of that, the combination of factors, including our Second Amendment right to bear arms, the more effective use of government funds to educate rather than restrict, the use of guns for harmless hunting and recreation, a provided sense of protections from the guns, and gun control laws effect on only law-abiding citizens makes gun control a horrendous proposition for our nation. People are worried about the government allowing guns to be purchased because dangerous people are going to access them with this easy system. But the people who are criminals and murderers are malicious anyways. They aren't doing this to perform an act that's legal. They're going to commit a crime anyways, and the obtaining of a gun is no factor. Also, what about our safety? How will we keep up in the national arms race and national security if guns are restricted? Do we restrict it from just the people or the military? Because oftentimes military members have killed others in war, and is that part of a criminal record? How do we plan to get rid of this loophole in the gun access? The opponents stated frequently that the problem was not necessarily in guns possession, but in the loophole for people to possess them legally. Guns don't kill people, people kill people. And for that reason, on top of all, we should not allow our government and media to enforce stringent, restrictive, and abusive gun control laws.
Okay, 2 minutes, 36 seconds.